warm welcome to the second day of One Mega Event 2017. The second session for Smart Cities, this session is Swiss Innovations for Smart Cities in India. The moderator for the session is Mr. Daniel Ziegerer, Head Swiss Cooperation Office India, Embassy of Switzerland. May I now request Mr. Daniel to take over the session and introduce the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and warm welcome to everyone to this Swiss session on Swiss innovations for smart cities in India. We will start with a little bit of context setting and some welcome remarks by Mr. Andreas Baum, His Excellency, the Ambassador of Switzerland to India and Bhutan. And we will then have in the second part a panel. The panelists are already assembled with me here on the stage, where we will talk about some of the Swiss solutions, present some of the Swiss solutions, and also interact with you and hopefully have some time for questions and answers. So without further ado, I'd like to invite Dr. Andreas Baum to give his welcome remarks. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor of Siliguri, esteemed guests, partners, and the representatives of Swiss companies, ladies and gentlemen, a heartfelt welcome to the Swiss session of this Smart Cities Conference. Growing urbanization is taking place on a large scale in developing and emerging economies. In Asia alone, 1.2 billion people will be migrating from rural areas to cities over the next decades. An astounding 400 million of them will do so in India. Take the case of Delhi. Currently, this megacity is home to 19 million people. The increase over the last 5 years was 2 million. As we move around the city, we can witness the challenges of urban planning and infrastructure on multiple fronts. Increased demand for water and energy, burgeoning mounds of municipal solid waste, resulting in pollution and land, water and air pollution, multifold increase in vehicular traffic, and compounding problems of declining air quality. Tier 2 and 3 cities all over India are facing similar challenges and will face them in the future. They need to prepare. And on top of this, climate change is making things even more challenging. Increasing average temperatures, changing weather patterns, more extreme weather events, and growing water scarcity will be some of the likely climate change impacts. Cities will thus be the hotspots of India's sustainable development. Fortunately, the issue of city development is very high on India's political agenda. The Smart City mission of the Government of India aims at improving the quality of life of its citizens. It encompasses developing a people-centric, adequate water and electricity supply, effective sanitation and solid waste management, affordable housing, efficient urban mobility and public transport, as well as environmental sustainability. These are some of the issues on which our ongoing cooperation projects are providing technical and capacity support to cities in India. Switzerland has quite a lot of experience in these fields. Swiss cities regularly feature on top in international rankings. The city of Zurich was ranked first in the 2016 Arcadis Sustainable Cities Index. In the recent Mercer Quality of Living survey, 3 Swiss cities are in the top 10, Zurich, Geneva, and Basel. These independent international surveys confirm that we must have done something right in the way we developed our cities in Switzerland. And it is precisely this kind of experience and expertise that we would like to share with Indian cities through cooperation projects and business partnerships. Under the current Indo-Swiss cooperation program, Swiss and Indian experts are working together in order to find solutions for reducing the energy consumption of new public, commercial and residential buildings. In the city of Jaipur, our project provided technical assistance to make the Forest Department's new office building energy efficient. In Delhi, our experts offer similar technical support to the new campus of the India International Institute of Democracy and Election Management of the Election Commission of India, which is currently under construction. Through our cities project called CapaCITIES, we will be providing technical assistance and support to 4 partner cities: Coimbatore, Rajkot, Siliguri and Udaipur, on capacity building for low carbon and climate resilient city development. In March, I was in Udaipur, where as part of the CapaCITIES project, we launched a pilot promoting electric mobility through e-rickshaws. Based on the experiences from this pilot initiative, the city is planning to scale up electric mobility as part of its smart city mission activities. In Siliguri, another of our partner cities, we will be working with the municipal corporation on solutions related to water supply management, urban transport systems, and introducing new scientific approaches for solid waste collection and management. I'm pleased that the mayor of Siliguri could join us for this session. In closing, I invite you to look at the panel and the logos just in front of me. In 2018, India and Switzerland will be marking a special anniversary, 70 years of official diplomatic relations. Over time, our relations have transformed into a full-fledged partnership. The official Swiss network in India wishes to celebrate this partnership with a series of public events. Today's session on Swiss innovations for smart cities in India is one of many more such exchanges. The initiative aims at encouraging what we do here right now, connecting Swiss and Indian mind, innovating in all fields for a better future. And now let's get the session started. It will provide us insights from our partners working on cooperation projects, inform us about innovative solutions that Swiss companies would like to share with India, and make us aware of innovations from Swiss startups, which could help shape the future of smart cities in India. I look forward to inspiring exchanges and trust that we will come up with many ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador, for these welcoming remarks and for also already setting the context to a certain degree, and also for taking the time and spending this morning here with us. So we will continue with the context setting, and I would like to invite Dr. Shirish Sinha, who is the Deputy Head of the Swiss Cooperation Office at the Swiss Embassy, to make his presentations. He will be addressing some of the what is it actually that we're talking about when we're talking about smart cities in India, and what are the challenges that need to be tackled first and foremost with regard to smart cities. Shirish, please.
Thank you, Daniel. Honorable Ambassador, Honorable Mayor of Siliguri, distinguished panelists, esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen. The context behind my presentation essentially is to trigger the panel discussion a little later, is to just give a context of where we see the development happening around smart cities in India. And that's something which would essentially help us to look at the kind of solutions that we are looking at. So if we look at the context of the smart cities, if you walk around this corridor of this room and the conference room, you'll see big words like 100 smart cities to be developed. Then there are these big numbers, about 500 cities which will have transformation to go through urban transformation through another national mission and a program called Amrut. We have a big ambitious plan of the government to have housing for all, affordable housing for all, of 20 million households to be built over the next 6 to 7 years. And then you have a sanitation program, which is a Clean India mission, which is also talking about large investments to go to build in terms of the improving the sanitation infrastructure or cleanliness within the country. So these are the different big national level programs which we keep on hearing now for last 2 years, which is really taking the attraction in terms of what the smart cities movement is basically driving. And if you see, the logic behind this is that the current government feels that urban development is a key engine for economic growth. And therefore, these kind of investments or the infrastructure really push is something which will drive employment. This will drive more investments to come in terms of the infrastructure to be developed. So if you look at just the government outlay, and this is not looking at the private sector investments that will come together with it, or the investment that will come from the states or the urban local bodies, something to the tune of $72 billion to be invested over a period of next 4 to 5 years to implement various of these missions. But at the same time, we need to realize that all these investments that is being announced, or these programs that is being there, because as urbanization happens in India, it is challenged by the continuous growth of both in terms of the infrastructure and the pressure that the resources are being put under, as well as the continuing poverty which exists within the overall economic system within the country. So these are the constraints within which this larger program of the smart cities essentially is happening. And what are the drivers for it? What are the reasons why we basically are around the smart city? One is the rising urban population, as well as the migration of people which is basically going to come and live in cities. So if you look at the statistics which is essentially available, we're talking about something like 40% of India's population would be living in by 2030 in urban areas, compared to about 30%. So rapid growth of population that would really happen to start living in it. It has been projected that between 2014 and 50, something like 400 million people will start, the urban population will grow by that number. Now, if this is the kind of trend that we see it likely to happen from 2014 going up to 2050, the growth that is there, this would put tremendous amount of demand on various set of resources which is or urban services that is required to be provided. Increase in demand for housing, for energy, for transport, for water, for waste. All these would be sectors which would come under tremendous pressure to meet the requirements and services of the people. So given this in the context, what I would like to take is to some of the key issues that we are facing in each of some of the key sectors that we feel are the challenges that we are facing. So one is housing. So on the housing, there is a big demand for number of houses to be really built. What we are looking at is already a growth that is happening, about 33% increase that has happened over in 10 decades or 10 years between 2001 and 11. And then we still see a lot of shortage related to housing within as far as the urban India is concerned. And more of this shortage is among the low income households as well as the people who are economically weaker. Niti Aayog estimates that there will be a 4-time increase in the building floor spaces, both residential as well as commercial, as part of the demand that will really happen over future in India. So this is the kind of opportunity that also provides us that do you really take a path of building houses or your floor spaces which is carbon lock-in, or you can actually go for more energy efficient this one. Very recently, 2 days back, almost all newspapers carried this report, a study that has just come out from CLSA, which has made a projection that something to the tune of $1.3 trillion investment would happen just in the housing sector. And this is the investment that will go not just in the affordable housing, which is of course being pushed by the government, but it's also triggering something like huge 60 million construction to happen across the different sectors of households to be built. So these are really an opportunity that, while at the same time a challenge of lack of housing in the country which is driving this growth, and the vision that the government has that people should have a shelter and a proper housing to live, but at the same time an opportunity which enables us to provide solutions which can actually make us into more energy efficient space. The next big challenge linked to housing, of course, is the water. If we look at the water supply across cities, in fact, most of the cities do not have 24/7 water supply. And that's a major challenge. If more and more people start living in urban areas, we will face with scarcity of water. Wherever we have water, we face problems in terms of access to public supply of water, or in terms of access to piped water supply within premises if households have one. At the same time, we see the trend which is happening related to how the resource depletion is happening. Some of the analysis from WRI shows that about 54% of India's is highly extreme water stress areas. Another study that Taru did recently talked about the footprint that cities are in terms of accessing secured water supply is rapidly increasing. So cities are going to longer distances to get water to ensure that the citizens are able to get. And even then, it is not a full 24/7 supply of water, but a very minimum supply of water. There are several challenges. Of course, one is also related to the kind of losses that basically happens in the water distribution system that we have wherever we have the connection to provide water supply. The other big challenge that we will basically face is linked to the way about when people start living, the space they need to move from their space of work or from place of residence to place of work and others. So the mobility and transportation is the other challenge, and at the same time an opportunity where work is basically happening. Now, if you look at some statistics again in terms of how this growth rate is happening, if you just look at compound annual growth rate of the transport of the vehicles alone registered in India, there is a 9.9% growth between 2001 and 11. Whereas the road length or the infrastructure where these vehicles have to move, that has increased at a much slower rate compared to the rate at which the vehicles have increased. So we have demand for transport is going up, we have problem of the inadequate public transport system in place. Many of the bigger cities are going for metro systems, but even if you have a good metro system, the last mile connectivity is basically a problem, or a good bus system, again the last mile connectivity becomes a problem. The whole coordination related to urban land use and transport is another area of challenge that we face. Alignment of roads, quality of roads, these are all different challenges that most of the cities are grappling with or are facing on a regular basis. And what we see therefore is a fairly large levels of traffic congestions as well as pollution as a result of an increased motorized basis of transport which is driving the mobility within the city. So that's another challenge area, but again an opportunity for how cities can essentially move from the kind of a fossil fuel dependent transport system to more. Now 2 weeks back the government said we want to move by 2030 all private transport to electric vehicles. Now that's a huge ambitious number of 2030. Possible to do, but what are the infrastructure challenges and opportunities and how we can turn the challenge into an opportunity. The fourth issue is on the solid waste, and that's a major growing, not just a problem of land use, but also an environmental problem which most of the cities are grappling with. Now, the analysis from Ministry of Environment Forest, when they came out with this new solid waste management rules, actually said that about cities generate about 62 million tons of waste is generated. And what you see as other bullets is what is treated and what is therefore just goes into landfill as a dump in the landfill sites. So a large amount of solid waste that is actually being produced is not getting treated and are therefore going into landfill sites. Sorry. So about 70% of urban waste essentially go or is unscientifically treated or basically dumped in the landfill sites. Now this is going to grow to 165 million tons, and therefore the demand, if we follow the same practices that we currently have, the amount of land that would be needed is simply not available for most of the municipalities. And therefore what cities are starting to do is to going to longer distances to start looking at sites for dumping of the municipal solid waste, or there can be technological options which we can basically look at in terms of addressing the problem of solid waste. Linked to this are the four issues, again, are the issue of pollution, and something which if you live in Delhi you are grappling with, or most of the urban settlements we are grappling with. Not just the pollution of air, which of course gets most of the attention as we often see, but it's also the pollution of water, which is actually really creating a lot of disturbances. So these are some of the analysis which keeps coming on a regular basis. As soon as the winters would start setting in Delhi, we'll start seeing the kind of air quality that we have going fairly low levels in terms of the WHO standards, but at the same time the pollution of the river bodies or the water bodies are again a major challenge which essentially requires solutions which we need to look at. adding to these general context of the challenges which we face currently is the next level of what we really see now is the climate context. The challenge of climate variability and the change that it will basically build will also have impact in terms of heat stress, the way the buildings are built, the way the cities were built, more and more energy going into buildings, also creating heat island effects or heat islands along the old cities or the settlements of that. Extreme events leading to inundations or on the other extreme side of shortages of water and health related risk, which is increasingly becoming a challenge for most of the cities. So these are some of the assessments again which talks about that Indian cities are likely to see this level of variation in terms of temperature rise and therefore and also in terms of the changes in precipitation. So how do cities really cope for this? How can we make cities more resilient going forward in future? Now to conclude, now we are talking about the smart solutions. These are how the smart city mission defines itself, the way it is structured, the different areas where infrastructure investment needs to go under the smart city. So it is issue of water, electricity, sanitation. So these are the challenges that we have seen just now in terms of the areas where the smart city mission essentially talks about essentially addressing. Now going forward, the question that we really like to use at this panel discussion essentially to look at is that what are the kind of innovative solutions and practices for smart cities addressing the topics which are underlined above this question that can be fostered or that can be there through the partnership between India and Switzerland, how this we can basically take it. So that's a leading question essentially how to kind of trigger to the panel. So that essentially is the context setting, Daniel, that I just had in mind. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Shirish, for reminding us of the context and also pointing out some of the numbers which are always mind-boggling, especially if you're from a small country like Switzerland. When you aggregate these numbers on the scale of India, it's always, of course, very, very impressive. But before we go into the solutions, we'd also like to hear from the perspective from one of the cities that we are actually here talking about, not just from the perspective of Delhi, but from a city that is very much also facing these challenges. And we're very honored to have the mayor of Siliguri with us, Mr. Bhattacharya, and he is excellent, very well placed to talk about the context, not only because Siliguri is one of these very rapid growing cities where a lot of these challenges will of course even be more pressing in the future, but also because of his experience as Minister for Municipal Affairs, Urban Development, Town and Country Planning that he had at the state level in the government of West Bengal. So with that, I'd like to invite you, Mr. Mayor, to give your presentation. Thank you.
Dr. Baum, Honorable Mayor of, Honorable Ambassador of Switzerland in India, the panelists who are in the dais, the ladies and gentlemen. I feel deeply honored being invited as a speaker by the Swiss Cooperation Office in India, Embassy of Switzerland, at the session on Swiss innovations for smart cities in India. I am thankful to the Honorable Ambassador, Embassy of Switzerland, and to the organizing committee for this session providing me an opportunity to speak here and to exchange my experience on, as I am associated with the urban development and municipal administration for 4 decades of time. So, first of all, I like to introduce Siliguri before you. This is, you know, the Siliguri is located in the foothills of Darjeeling Himalayas. Siliguri has been the second most urbanized emerging metropolitan city in West Bengal. The city is witnessing its rapid expansion of its population, particularly in the last few decades. Siliguri is designated to be the gateway to the northeastern states of India. Siliguri is a polylingual and multicultural city, surrounded by hundreds of tea gardens and forests in the vicinity of Siliguri. The geopolitical and strategic importance of Siliguri can be well understood for the neighboring international borders with Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, and China is also not very far from Siliguri. Growth rate of motorized vehicles in Siliguri is more than the population growth. The emission rate of carbon particles out of fossil fuel and such other conventional energy has become the most serious concern for the city. Its environmental quality causing meteorologically. Siliguri is situated in the hotspot zone that is within the range of seismic zone 4. I am thankful to Swiss Cooperation Office to make Siliguri as a partner of capacity building for low carbon and climate resilient city development in India projects. The urbanization of Siliguri is not matched by any corresponding industrialization. Siliguri is famous for 5 T's: tea, trading, transport, tourism, and table tennis. Cities like Siliguri do not engineer growth for the general urban inhabitants. They copy the model of the Indian megapolis. The growing pressure of population on the city of Siliguri and its adjoining areas gives rise to the problems of housing, infrastructures like roads, drainage, sewages, purified drinking water, solid waste management, and enormously growing vehicles on the road, traffic control, recycling of garbage, and inadequacies of the other basic civic amenities. In fact, Siliguri is a city suffering with inadequacies of basic civic amenities and basic infrastructure to be provided to the millions of population. Impacts of global warming and climate change are also being felt in and around of Siliguri. The century we live in is the era of urbanization. Urbanization of this century is in fact the experiences of urbanization in Asian and Latin American countries, particularly India and China. It is a fact that during 18th century, urbanization was an offshoot of industrialization, was initiated in the developed countries of Europe, along with concomitant positive productive forces. In this sense, the terms urbanization and civilization are synonymous. One of the indexes of civilization is urbanization, which generates economic momentum and development. It provides development quality services. It provides developed quality services, infrastructures, development of science and technology, innovative technology transformations, creation of employment opportunities, availability of the basic civic amenities. Thus, urbanization is inescapable. We are passing an era of third generation of urbanization, which is called urbanization during the prudent era of transformative force. Now the urbanization has become the transformative force, though it is not the social transformative force, but the physically it has become the transformative force. Aspiration and expectation of cities during this era are growing endlessly. India's urban experience is largely different from the West. The same with the other decolonized countries, which became independent immediately after the Second World War. Taking India together, these countries' economies are largely dependent on agriculture and overpopulated. During 1950s, India had 19% of urban population. After 6 decades, the percentage of urban population has increased to 32%. Though Indian percentage of urban population is lower in comparison with other developed countries. However, in terms of number of urban population, India ranks second after China. On the contrary, agriculture still remains as the primary sector of the economy, which absorbs 58% of the employment in India. As a result, in rural area, non-agricultural activities have been on the rise. A large chunk of peasants are attracted to the urban areas to work as non-skilled workers and engage them in the informal sector of the urban economy for their livelihood. In the West, the labor force migrated to the European towns and cities to get them engaged in production-based industries. Thus, such rural urban migration was much more productive and positive than the developing countries. It is also unfortunate to note that in India, the share of production-based industrial sector to the GDP is not also enhancing. What is enhancing is the share of tertiary sector of the economy. Within a short passage of time, the total number of urban population in India would be 66 crores, 660 million. While in 2001, India had 5,161 towns, including cities. In 2011, the number has been increased to 7,935. Moreover, urban culture has largely been extended to the rural villages due to expansion of link roads and other infrastructural facilities. Rural areas have been changing very rapidly. Villages have been largely impacted by urban culture. Records suggest that 65% of the total revenue income is accrued from the cities and towns in India. Within 10 to 15 years, the majority share of employment shall be generated in the towns and the cities of India. Another unique feature is that in India, unlike West, the number of metropolitan cities is very less. In 1901, there was only one metropolitan city, and by now, according to Census Report 2011, India is having 53 such cities. India's urban space is composed of innumerable small and medium towns and non-municipal areas and second tier of cities. Another important point is that the highest number of youth population lives in Indian towns and cities. Number of urban middle class is highest in India in the world. These are the consuming class. A new middle class is emerging in urban India, which has the aspiration of better living standard. Once the Indian population was the liability of India, of our country, but now the number of population is growing, it has become the assets for our country and for the international stage also. The basic urban amenities are not even in a moderate position in India. Problems of affordable housing is increasing in many big and small cities. It seems there are two cities within one city. To address these issues, the government of India has launched certain important programs for the urban areas, which include JNUM, Amrut, Housing for All, Smart City, and such other programs. It is to be noted that Smart City program has an elitist connotations without having any trickle-down effects. In China, such programs sometimes gave rise to the ghost cities or prematurely built cities. In the recently held conference Habitat 3, the basic call was cities for all and rise to the city to attain sustainable, inclusive, harmonious development. The basic phase of the India's urban development should be directed to the calls of Habitat 3. In fact, the conference has reiterated Mahatma Gandhi's path of development, while he professed, Earth has enough to meet the need of the people, but not the greed. India needs sustainable urban development, a development which can meet the need of the present without compromising the ability to meet the need of the future. To face the challenges of urbanization, democratic decentralization, and people's participation has an important role. In India, 74th Constitutional Amendment Act is a historical step towards this. To conclude, not only in India, but throughout the world, we have been experiencing with the process of third generation of urbanization, which is highly critical and complex, however, inevitable and inescapable. There are challenges, but also potential. Urbanization is also potential. I may mention here the concept of scientific outlook of development, which are harmonious with man, nature, and society. You will be pleased to know, very recently my book in Bengali, Urbanization of Three Generations, was published. I like to present a copy of this book, though it is Bengali, the introduction in English, I will like to present to the Honorable Ambassador and the SDC. Along with the book on the impact of the global climate changes on the cities, though it is also in Bengali. Along with any other this, thank you once again to all. You have given me a patient hearing. Thank you all once again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for sharing this perspective from one of the hotspots of urban development and smart city development. So I think we've had heard now from many corners about all the challenges. So now let's move to what could be some of the solutions and what could Switzerland contribute towards these solutions. I have here a panel with me that is composed of different sets of people. There are some colleagues who are involved in international cooperation projects. There are some colleagues who have are with Swiss enterprises who are already long established and have quite a long record. And we also have some startups that offer new and fresh solutions that could make a difference. I have not made the task very easy for the panelists because we wanted to avoid to bombard you with just one PowerPoint presentation after the other. So we said this part should really be a panel discussion. So in order that you still have a feeling of what the kind of solutions and products that they are presenting, we will run a slide presentation in the background, but I've asked them to make their interventions here directly from the panel remaining seated. With that, let's please move to the presentation, and I'd like to invite the first panelist, Ashish Rao-Ghorpade, who is Regional Executive Manager at ICLEI, and he is involved as a city coach in the CapaCITIES Project. Over to you, Ashish, for your presentation.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I would like to thank the previous speakers, Ambassador, Honorable Mayor, and Dr. Shirish for the background, which sets the context very well. I represent this project called CapaCITIES, which is supported by the STC. And you know the background, so we are under the project supporting 4 cities. The project is called CapaCITIES, which includes capacity building for low carbon and climate resilient city development in India. Move to the next one. So we are covering 4 cities in this project. We are looking at the city of Coimbatore, Udaipur, Rajkot, and Siliguri. All of these cities range within the populations of 5 lakhs to 10, 12 lakhs and come from different parts of India, have different cultures and different climatic zones. But they are similar in the sense that they are fast-growing cities. They are important second-tier cities, very important for the region and the states that they come from. You already heard about Siliguri, but same is the case for the cities of Coimbatore, Rajkot, and Udaipur. The slide tells you about the approach that we follow for the project. We are looking at research and analysis, which focuses on climate vulnerability, carbon emissions, and energy consumption to develop climate action plans for the 4 cities, and then focus on specific measures that look at the sectors that we want to target for the cities. This includes water, waste, building, transport, and all of these sectors. We are providing inputs in terms of quick win projects and bankable projects over a long-term period that the project is getting implemented, and how we are wanting to share the impact of our work with the 4 cities is through a component which is sharing knowledge. We work in few cities and we get the cities to learn from each other, from Swiss expertise, and then the work that we do in the 4 cities we share with other cities who are working on similar agendas across India. These pictures tell you about few projects that we've already started in the few cities. So we launched last month e-rickshaw pilot projects for the city of Udaipur. We inaugurated 15 e-rickshaws of different typologies for the city, where intermodal public transport is an important component. They are looking at cleaning up their fleet, which currently consists of petrol and diesel-based auto rickshaws. They do not have a public transport system really working in the city. So this is something that we are trying to see if we can suggest the city to look at as they move forward towards making their transportation green. And as we are doing this, we are simultaneously working on other sectors. So there's waste, there's water, and there is buildings, where we are already engaging with cities, having experts from Switzerland come down to the cities, talk about their issues, learn from the cities as to what are the things that they need to address. How is it that the technologies and solutions that are working in Swiss cities or other cities can be localized for the Indian context and provided to the cities that we are working with. And simultaneously, we are also providing some trainings talking about climate action planning, green finance, and other baskets of solutions that can be provided to the cities. A lot of interaction with the cities to learn from them and talk to them about things that the Swiss experts and the Indian experts in the project working know already about, and how they can be relevant for the cities that we are working with. So that's all that we are currently doing, but it's a process, and we are hoping to continue doing this over the project period. I represent the implementation team, which is a large group of partners who are providing expertise for these 4 cities. We hope that the learnings of the 4 cities are useful for other cities as well in India.
Thank you very much, Ashish. And of course, he is representing the Indian counterpart of this project setup, but they work very closely with Swiss firms, Swiss partners who bring in the particular expertise in these fields, in these sectors that he talked about. And that is very much also the case for the next speaker and the next projects to which I'd like to turn over to. This is the Building Energy Efficiency Project, and Dr. Samir Maithel is the director of Greentech Knowledge Solutions and one of the co-team leaders of the project that I mentioned. Samir?
Thank you, Daniel. I'm representing Indo-Swiss Building Energy Efficiency Project, and as Daniel mentioned, this is a project which is aimed at providing technical support to make new construction or new building construction in India more energy efficient. So it started in 2012. We have completed the first phase, and the next phase is just starting, which will go over till 2021. So I have, the project covers several aspects, but I have covered 3 specific aspects which today I would like to just share with you. So in terms of innovations which we are trying to bring in this project, one is on the design process itself. Like if suppose we really want energy efficient buildings, if we start early in the design process, if we are able to look at all the possibilities in terms of architecture and engineering solutions together at the beginning, then we can build a building, we can convert a building to an energy efficient building at almost no additional cost. And that is what this project is trying to do. We work with large builders. Till now we have provided technical support. We have worked with 18 builders. We try to bring the engineering and architecture team to work together in the early design phase, and some of the buildings you can see at the bottom. Some of them has been constructed and we are now monitoring the performance of these buildings to ensure, to see that in most cases the energy reduction is of the order of 25 to 50%, and as the projects get completed, we will be monitoring the performance of these projects. As I mentioned, some of them have already been constructed, and we have been able to work on with variety of builders and developers, both from public and private sector. The second part, and I think Dr. Shirish Sinha in his presentation talked about housing, and we are covering a part of housing. One of the issues is the issue of thermal comfort. In Indian climates, particularly if you look at our hot areas and composite climate regions, the outside temperatures during summers are in the range of say 45 degrees, and we have seen that if proper care is not taken, then the inside temperatures can go as high up to 38 to 40 degrees centigrade, particularly in affordable housing, where in terms of the occupants will not be able to afford air conditioning. So we are now working on affordable housing projects, particularly in the city of Rajkot, where CapaCITIES Project is also working, and through them we have been able to work with Rajkot Municipal Corporation, and we have provided technical assistance to a project which is now under construction, and the main aim was that without these intervention, the inside temperatures would have gone up to 38 degrees centigrade. We are trying to bring through proper window to wall ratio, designing of windows, and through a very innovative natural ventilation system, so that the inside temperatures will, at the maximum, will go up to 32 degrees centigrade. So looking at both the energy efficiency aspect and thermal comfort aspect. The third innovation which I would like to present here is as you would have seen across India, we have suddenly started using a lot of glazing. We see a lot of glazed buildings, but then there is a huge impact in terms of both heat gains which happens through these glazings and the issue of thermal comfort. So the project is working on various kinds of external movable shading systems which are very popular in Switzerland, but we are trying to develop here indigenous solutions which can come at a fraction of cost of the available Swiss solutions. And so we have conducted a national design competition. We have selected 5 designs which prototypes have been tested, and we will be launching much larger initiative to popularize and to develop market for these solutions to shade buildings better. There are other aspects of the project in which we work on capacity building, training, etc. But today I just wanted to present these 3 solutions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samir, for these examples of technologies and ideas that have been transferred from Switzerland to India and adapted, I guess, also to hear the realities. So next, I'd like to turn over to Mr. Jean-Michel Deckers. He is the CEO of SMICSIN, and he will be talking about how technologies can be used to preserve resources in India, in smart cities in India.
Thanks a lot. So at SMICSIN, what we do is to look at a daily routine that everybody is doing and could have a huge impact on both hygiene and water preservation. And this is a simple thing as hand washing. You know, everybody does that, but at the end of the day, this is something that we have not been looking at changing for the last many years. And so we took a technology that could simplify the process and to optimize the water consumption. And basically what we do is, by having an automated process, we are saving 90% of the water, we are enabling 90% of the water used in a normal hand washing process. So you are, with all technology, you're washing your hands with less, or more or less 10 milliliter, 1 deciliter of water, and which is about 90% less water. So normally when you wash your hand, you do that with about a liter of water. So think about the impact it could have when billions of people are doing that every day, again and again. You could save hundreds of millions of water in a city. We made a calculation for just a shopping mall in the Emirates last week, and placing our technology in the washroom of that shopping mall could save for that shopping mall up to 60 million liters of water per annum. So what we do, or what we are proposing for cities, is also to address the element of hygiene, which is one of the key challenges of growing population in cities. Is, basically, if we are maximizing the number of points where you could wash your hands in a city, you could have a positive impact on the safety and on the health of the citizen on that city, while in the same time you are preserving resources. So here is an example of a project that we have, that's a project that we have in Jakarta, for the airport of Jakarta, where we are placing, or we are proposing to place, our hand washing station in the alley, or in the public area of the airport, and at a point where you've got millions of people crossing, where you need to optimize the traffic, and also preserve water, and incentivize the people to wash your hands. Our technology is enabling to achieve all those objectives at the same time. So we are 100% hygiene, so we are in the completely in the spec promoted by the World Health Organization. We are saving 90% of water per hand wash, but also 60% of soap, because we've got a very optimized technology in terms of metering. And this is an impact as well on CO2, because you are carrying less water, you are carrying less soap, you are recycling less water in the same time. And what we do as well is that to optimize the handling of all those processes and of the soap replenishment, etc., we are proposing connected solutions. So this is in a nutshell, the technology that we are proposing. That is certainly in the longer run for a country like India, but we are certainly considering what we do in the other countries as a platform that could be helpful and a learning for India. So here is an example of our IoT solution, connectivity, where basically we are bringing to a data center all the measure and all the levels, and we could optimize the replenishment and the control of the consumable that goes along with our technology. So that's in a nutshell what we do.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing this example of one very specific solution. I'm sure some of you might be interested to learn more about the details of it. So I'd like to also invite you to visit us at the Swiss Pavilion. All the panelists are actually available there. The products are displayed there, and more information on the products and on the projects can be obtained directly from the colleagues here on the panel. Let's move over to a next possible set of solutions. I'd like to invite Mr. Jens Hogard. He's sales manager at Paradox Engineering, to share with us some experiences on smart urban communication networks, please.
Thank you very much, Daniel. We are Paradox Engineering. We are located in the southern part of Switzerland, in Ticino, in Chiasso. We are mainly 30 engineers working with firmware, software, and hardware development. And the company is not new, and IoT is actually not new to us, because we started in 2005 by connecting up power plants around the world. So if you have a power plant in the desert or in a rural area, we can actually connect up the power plant via satellite communication and bringing the data to our server in Chiasso. And with this, we could process and offer better services to the power plant people. If you take maybe the first picture, Daniel, of the company, one more back. Super, thanks a lot. So you can see here in our offices, mainly we are hardware, software people. I think the pictures were made at Christmas, because all the desks are really clean and nicely organized. Normally there's full of hardware, a lot of things that the guys are working with on the telecommunication side. So the DNA of Paradox Engineering is telecommunication, bringing data from the field and up to a server. We are now today a partner and fully incorporated in the Japanese multinational company called Minebea Mitsumi. With the company, they are operating in ball bearings areas, stepper motors, and ventilation fans. And with this partnership, we are actually able also to be more local and have a local presence all over the world. And this is very good, because we need not only technology, but also people carrying out the technology to the regions. This here, the picture is, let's say, just a bit of a reminder. I think Shirish was mentioning an interesting number, that 400 million people in India will move to urban areas. In my, let's say, thoughts and my slides, we have more than 7 billion people on this planet here. Around 50% are living in urban areas and urban environments, and we are now, let's say, increasing this to 70% living in urban areas by 2015 is the forecast. So it's clear there will be a severe stress on the infrastructure around the world, and for this we need to optimize and get all we can out of the infrastructure. Our solution, the PE Smart Urban Network, is really telecommunication, linking up all devices that you have in the field on a narrowband network, and we also offer a broadband network. And the idea right from the beginning in 2005 were to have a standardized system and open platform. It is very severe and not very good if a municipality or community links up with one technology from one supplier. We need to be open, interoperable, and this is the philosophy in our telecommunications infrastructure. So you can see to the left in the picture, we have the street lights. We can build in our hardware to the street lights, and then they will start making a network that will talk to the waste bins. It can talk to the meters, and I think I will also talk with CIMICs, because their hand-washing unit can actually be incorporated with our communication technology and in principle talk to the streetlights in the city as well. So let's say, so it's really about networking all kinds of IoT devices in the field, and you can do this step by step. We have in major cities around the world made some good projects. We have in San Leandro a project with around 100,000 with around 5,000 nodes, also 5,000 light points. And the light points are very good because they are outside, they are very visible, and you have them all over the city. And when they talk to each other, they can easily talk to other devices. And one part that we have here, for example, is our parking sensor. You can place this directly on the ground, and afterwards the parking sensor will then start to talk with the street light and bringing the data back to the server, whether the parking lot is occupied or not. And other companies, third-party companies, can then take the data, process the data, and make value of the data to the inhabitants of the cities here in India. We are also very close to Chiasso. They have allowed us to innovate a lot of new things, and there we have integrated both meters, waste management, street lights, and parking sensors into one solution. We can also help here in India to only help with the chipset. So we have the standardized communication chipset, so you can make your own Indian applications and then add them on the system. So you can either do, let's say, a small system, your own system, or you can buy an end-to-end solution from us, Paradox Engineering in Switzerland. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, and I'm particularly glad to see that the things not only connect through your system, but also here on the panel with different panelists developing ideas on how they could work together. And I think that also very well fits with the next presenter, Mr. Cedric Morel. He also has an example of a specific application, I think, that is based on the technology of Internet of Things, or Internet of Thanks, as you call it. Please, over to you.
Thank you. My name is Cedric. I'm the CEO of Sensile Technologies. At the time we started in 2001, there was no IoT. There was just Internet of Things. And that's how we called our solution. So it's an old solution, started, as I said, 2001, a small startup in Switzerland. And today we have a solution in more than 60 countries and more than 60,000 pilot projects, because everybody wants a pilot. So we say, we've had 60,000 pilot projects for 15 years, but you can do another one if you want. Can I have the next one? This is the view from our office. This kind of summarizes who we are, what we do. So we're a Swiss company based on the Lake of Geneva. That's what you see in front of you. And the Alps and the Mont Blanc in the background. So a Swiss company oriented toward the outside foreign countries and always wanted to be at the peak of the technology. And you've got our boats there for when we retire. What do? We do remote tank monitoring, and not only. All type of tanks, from heating oil, diesel, lubricants, LPG, gas tanks if you want, petrol stations. Anything that is complicated, because you need to have special certification. We don't want a customer's tank to blow. And we transmit those tank level to the cloud. Yes, since 2001 we have something in the cloud. And since it's called the cloud, actually the sunrise shines more for us. We also do gas cylinders And we're starting also in the water business because some people that thought, oh yes, I can do that myself. After a few years, they come back to us and say, actually, it's not that easy to transmit data from harsh environment, from -40 to +60 degrees anywhere in the world. So that's our specialty. We don't do many things, but what we do it well. The next one. And what does it bring? What are the benefits for this solution for our customer? Okay, it's cool, it's smart city, but before that, the main advantage that our customers who are oil and gas companies is they install this system on their customers' tanks. So their customers are the people using oil. It could be a garage with lubricant. It could be a car manufacturer that put lubricants in its car before shipping them. It can be a petrol station. It can be a house that using oil to heat up the house. It could be an industry. Any user of oil. It could be a bus terminal with tanks. The point of this system, they say you install this easy, simple device, done in half an hour, quite easy to do, on the tank. This device will send the data to the cloud, and from there, the customer or the oil company, our customer, gets directly into the logistics system the deliveries they need to do. And the deliveries are then set for a just-in-time point. You don't want to come when you still have a half tank full. Or you don't want to come when the tank is already empty for 2 days because the customer is angry. So what you want to do is come at the optimum time when it's almost empty. Doing this, you, first of all, improve your satisfaction of your customer because it doesn't have to order anymore. It's all automated. You don't have any work process, man process. And you save on your deliveries, you come less often. You still sell the same amount, you still deliver the same amount in total, but instead of coming every week, you come every 2 weeks, or maybe even every 3 weeks because you have access to the data. And data is what gives you the control and what gives you the possibility to do the savings. And those savings summarize up to 30% of the logistic cost of our customers. So they reduce the number of trucks, the numbers of drivers. They don't like it. They like to say at their barbecue on Sunday, I've got 20,000 trucks, or I've got 5,000 trucks, or 3 trucks. When we tell them you're going to have less, they don't like it. But at the end of the day, they look at their bottom line, and that's what they like. So it makes it a complete profitable solution at the end of the day. So this is sometimes us with our round wheels, and we see sometimes still people with their square wheels. So don't hesitate to change. This is a proven solution. It works, it exists, it's available today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morel. Last but not least, I'd like to turn to a Swiss startup company. It's the CEO of Treatec, is Frédéric Juillard, and he will introduce us an example of how sewage sludge can be more valorized. Please.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frédéric. I'm the CEO of Treatec, a very new startup that I founded a year and a half ago. It's a spin-off from a Swiss Institute of Technology in Lausanne. I'm actually very close to Cedric. And at Treatec, we want to take part of the sanitation revolution. As you may know, giving access to people of toilets save more lives than antibiotics, vaccines, a lot of different things. But still there are a lot of challenges in the sanitation world, and at Treatec we want to attack some of them. Sanitation is very vast. It involves many processes. From the toilets, this I led to the big guys. Then there is the sewage network, until the wastewater reach a sewage treatment plant. After several steps, the waste is concentrated and separated out of the wastewater so as clean water can be released. This is what we focus on at Treatec. This is called sewage sludge. And we produce a lot of it. These are some, oh, it's fine. Those are some numbers regarding Switzerland. I think we all go to the toilet the same, so you can just multiply this by 1.2 billion, so as you can have the number for India. Most of this sludge is either incinerated or landfilled. which produce a lot of greenhouse gases, especially when you landfill, because it decomposes into methane, which is a terrible greenhouse gas. In our countries, we are using an incineration solution, which can be very costly for the sewage treatment plant management. What we are developing at Greentech is a technology where we process the sludge. We can extract, in a first step, all mineral salts and upgrade them for the agriculture into fertilizers. The organic fraction of the waste is converted into biogas, and at the end we release clean water. So we can generate revenues from fertilizers, biogas, so as we don't ask too much to the sewage treatment plant managers who pay us also for this service. This is the design of our technology, so the goal is to fit in a shipping container. This container is able to treat 10 tons per day, which is the equivalent of a 30,000 people city. When we asked me to try to integrate the Indian case in our presentation, I feel like there are many other challenges for India before us to come with thousands of those containers here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so here in India, before dealing about the sewage sludge itself, the waste generated in those sewage treatment plants, there are some other challenges. First, as an example, in Switzerland, 98% of the population is connected to sewage treatment, to the sewage network, and here in India is less than 20%. So this is the first challenge. And then with all this sludge that is generated here, and is mainly landfilled, there are some other solutions, quite cheap solution to try to valorize it. It can be incineration, but I think producing biogas can be also a good solution. And I think this is one of the main challenge regarding the sanitation parts. For us, with Greentech, it's high technology, I would say, and I believe that the first projects we will implement here are more regarding the industrial wastewaters that are generated and most of the time that are polluting the natural streams. So I think I'm good. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Frederick. That concludes the round of introductions of the different solutions and technologies. We started a little bit late, so I think we have a bit more time to continue, to also have some questions from the audience, and maybe there are some more information that you'd like to have on some of the things that you have heard. But to start off the discussions, I'd like to ask one question from my side to the panelists. Something that I have often heard over the last few years when we were talking about Swiss technologies and Swiss solutions was the reaction of people that they were saying, well, this might work in Switzerland, but here the context is quite different and we're not so sure whether this is really what is needed for India. So if you think about the technologies that you have presented or the solutions, the approaches, is there anything that you need to customize? Do you need to make it adapted so that it is relevant and that it works for India? Or is it out-of-the-box solutions that you can transfer from Switzerland to India? Who would like to go first? Jens, please.
Thank you very much, Daniel. As I can state very clearly, our solution is out of the box. And we can do it tomorrow here in India because we adapt the international standard. The complete system is made and adopted from Internet Engineering Task Force and IEEE. And we were one of the first one globally that adopted this standard into our system. And we also, with this, won in 2012 the first trial project in San Francisco. We were among 150 bidders and we won because of the open standard. So we use the international open standard. This is really key with us, and therefore we can, let's say, we will not have people locked into our technology. Obviously, we would like to sell our system, this is clear, but it's based on open standards.
Thank you for this. Other reactions? Samir?
Yes, on our side, I would say as well that this is out of the box, but we have to be mindful of the level of penetration of the technology we want to reach, because obviously there is a price point that we have to consider. So I would say yes, this is out of the box for a niche of the population or a niche of the application, which is probably already very large in India. But if we want to go to more cities, we will have to probably come with a simplified technology, which we are working on absolutely as well. So that's very clear. But also what we will see, in my opinion, is that with the acceleration that we see in India, we will probably see a technology jump versus a little bit like what we have seen with the mobile phone. Okay, so we have not seen a kind of sequential process of development like we have seen in other parts of the world. Directly, you know, it went to another level of technology. It might be the same as well in smart cities, like, you know, in India. So that's my point of view.
Reducing the price point, coming with a simplified version, I think these are also things that we have talked about under the BEEP project, Samir.
I think our situation is a little bit different being a development cooperation project. I think one area on which we focus is that how the knowledge which exists with Swiss experts or academics can be utilized in the Indian context. So there are certain tools which may be available, how they can be adapted. Like when I gave the example of conducting these when we provide technical support to builders. So we have developed a specific process which is called a design charrette concept, which is based on Swiss experience of architects and engineers working together on design at an early design phase, but then that was adapted to the Indian condition. In terms of technological solutions, we do see in buildings one of the challenges that typically construction cost in Switzerland is maybe 5 to 8 times more than considered to India. So definitely I think there are issues in terms of adapting the technology to these lower price points. Some of the work which we are doing in external movable shading are essentially focused on that. Another interesting part in our project which we are now starting is that there are certain simulation tools which are proprietary and are very expensive. So even if suppose if I want to do energy simulation of a building or how the air will flow in an apartment, it is very difficult for an Indian small company to do those type of things. So we are also working towards developing open solutions which are available or which are developed on the basis of open softwares. So I think adaptation, at least in the type of projects project in which we are working, is almost essential to suit the local conditions.
Other responses from the panel?
Yes, I could add as well that it's also for us a solution out of the box. And the trend in pricing in terms of those technology is going down thanks to the buzz of the Internet of Things. More and more things need to communicate, and the whole network for this communication is being set up as well to make our work easier and make the whole system cheaper. And we'll also be able to one day put such device on any tank, anywhere in the world.
Frederick, I think you already addressed it.
I think I mentioned that already at the end, but you were asking about solution that works very well in Switzerland. So this is for us the first step, is to validate that this really works first in Switzerland, and maybe then we'll have to see how we can customize the solution for local projects here.
Ashish, do you want to add from your side?
Not much really. I want to say that the CapaCITIES project is one such project which aims to look at conditions that exist in our cities, and if we are talking about technologies or solutions that need to be brought into those cities, it's required that we understand the readiness, the priorities that the cities have, and the ability that they have to absorb such solutions. And based on that, then we are able to suggest solutions that would work in the long term. And that's something that we are aiming at. So anybody who's wanting to do some similar work with cities, we'd be happy to be part of that, yeah.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to open it to the audience also, to questions from the floor. Do we have microphones also to... Any questions you would like to ask to the panelists? Here on the front. We maybe take 2 or 3 questions at a time and then turn it back to the panel. Please, can you introduce yourself and ask your question?
Yeah, hello all. I'm a researcher from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. I'm working on architecture. My point is between what was proposed by Mr. Hagwad and Mr. Deckers. Like, we had 2 situations. Like, one is a more human involvement is there in the Hand Washing Act, and the other was more of a systemic issue. So, like, there was this both positions, like whether something that in Switzerland can be out of the box in India or not. I had a simple question, like, obviously in the technical level or the systems level we can implement most things, but when the human involvement is there, the urban behavior, like I have some background in behavioral economics and urban behavior of human beings, so that part I think maybe, what do you think will be a right way to optimize that? Because the human behavior changes in different places, there are cultural implications. For systems can fail and break. I mean, we have seen a lot of experiences, like I'm sure Mr. Ghorpade will have experiences like where you will see something working elsewhere and you bring and plant it in an Indian system. Maybe in the beginning it will work and the long-term life cycle of the process may not stand so well and the maintenance may not be faring so well. So I think that what is your perception in which, how do you plan to tackle that situation where in the long-term sustainability of your implementation, where maybe the initial success may work, but the scale is huge. I mean, when you're scaling something from a system like Switzerland, from an urban system of Switzerland, you're scaling into something as big as India. The numbers, I'm talking about the numbers. How do you plan to tackle the numbers?
Okay, thank you. We'll take one more question just behind you, and then I'll turn it back to the panel.
My name is Deb Malia. I'm coming from CLP India. First of all, my question is regard to Ashish, the one part which you're doing as an initiative of capacity building. Right now, if we see smart city, the term smart city, it's a jargon to many in the common people. How are we taking initiative to educate the common mass about and increase the awareness of smart cities across the people in India?
Okay, so both questions a bit around the human involvement and the human factor, I would say. Maybe Jens, you want to go first on the first question?
Thank you very much, Daniel. I can for sure comment on question number 1. I think it's very different from city to city, from country to country, how they approach the smart city. In my opinion, it starts a bit with an easy one, an easy application, and it is the street light. The street light has different advantages. If you move in and we see the business cases for street lights in Europe, the communities can pay back with the street light system within 5 to 7 years. This is a fair payback time for infrastructure. When they save on the energy, and with a system, with a smart control system and with the radio control system, they get it with this, say, application. Then you have the communication. And this is, let's say, the streetlight is very standardized, there's not so much interested in that one. And I see you need really to have the people participating in the continuous growth, because otherwise you will not facilitate more applications on the infrastructure you have. So you say, we built the first infrastructure, we can do this on a kind of a no-brainer business case, even I can calculate this business case on the savings, and then you add on top of this the water expansion station, a lot of applications that uses and make use of the same network, and then you have an even better business case. But it obviously, without participation of the people, there will be no growth of the Internet of Things and smart city.
So, Michel, how do you take account of the human factor in your
I think it's a very, very interesting question, and it's something that we see. So we are present in different regions of the world, Asia, Middle East, and Europe, and we keep always in mind a quote that a very famous business guru said, which is, culture is killing strategy every morning, or something like this. Okay, and it's really the case when it comes to hand-washing process. You do not have the same vision of hand-washing process in the different regions. So it's going to take time. We have the ability to adjust the parameter of our system. We could add cycle, so you could have things like ablution at the end of the cycle. You could rinse your mouth. You could do things that is done in different countries. We could do that, but of course, we do not have the intention to change the way people are behaving. We are helping to bring a process that could be consolidated, as you say. But of course, that goes with education. Okay, that goes with realizing that hand-washing process is something which is probably the simple thing next to go to the stool, but which is probably impacting the most civilization. Not civilization, but the hygiene and health. You take a very civilized place like Hong Kong. Okay, you go into the airport in Hong Kong, and you've got a big sign at the moment you're crossing the custom, which is, again, Middle East respiratory syndrome. The best thing you can do is to wash your hand, and then you turn around, and there is no hand washing point at less than 100 meters. So this is a starting point. Is how could we promote things without enabling the citizens to execute on that immediately? Okay, so that's a much bigger goal than just relying on us. This is also the authorities as well, I would say.
Thank you. Ashish, the other question was on how can we educate citizens, how can we involve citizens in the whole smart cities movement?
Right, so thanks for the question. I think if you know the smart cities process, the entire process of developing the proposal for smart cities in the cities that were involved was very participative in nature. There was a lot of outreach to people to ask their understanding of smart cities and their needs of smart cities, based on which the proposals were made. Going forward, there have been a whole lot of workshops and capacity building that's happening across cities to make people aware about what smart cities are. And this continues even during implementation, wherein as projects get implemented in the cities, people who are touched by the projects get told about how this will make a difference in their life and take their opinions on whether they want things done a bit differently or not. That said, at the national level,
lighting industry since last more than 35 years, and especially with the street lighting projects. Of course, I was with a company called Shirish, which was connected with a Belgian company, street lighting. And now I'm working on different cities for the intelligent street lighting. So question to Mr. Haggard, when he said that the Swiss technology can be adapted for the Indian, you see, a little warning, because we had been working with Government of India. There are about now 30 million street lights to be changed. This is basically the program of Indian government, 30 million all over India. The street lightings are conventional street lightings to be changed, and also the intelligent system to be adapted. But basically the problem is the basic infrastructures with municipal corporations. So as it is, the technology of intelligent controls may not be possible to get adapted with the present infrastructure which is existing with the present street light system. I think little bit technology change which can get adapted with the Indian scenario. So the best thing is to study, first of all, what is the kind of the infrastructure in place with various municipal corporations. Is it the program which you people are looking into, or you people are just looking into shifting the technology from Switzerland to India, which may be a little problem. So this is a question. Are you in the process of looking into that?
Thank you. We'll just take one more question as a last one, and then we do the concluding answers. I think I saw one more hand somewhere there. No, doesn't. Yes. Yes, over there, please. Yeah.
Good afternoon. It's an excellent program. I am Pradeep Salat from Vijay Security, Chairman from Bombay. I would like to know more about the Swiss-India Friendship Program. How does it work and how does it benefit to Indian community?
Good, thank you. Then I'll first turn again over to Hans.
Thank you very much for the question. Let's say, from our point of view, the end-to-end solution in the street light is the control. We maybe, excuse me to be a bit technical, we use the 6-low-pan open IPv6 standard that is defined by the IEEE. And this complete system is based on that, and we see, let's say, both this for the narrowband communication and the broadband communication. We offer the Wi-Fi hotspot solution as one solution. So for the applications like streetlight that do not use a lot of bandwidth, we use the 6-low-pan technology. And then on top of it, we have the streetlights, also, not the streetlight, the gateways ready with Wi-Fi hotspots, so we can cover the cameras and things like that. And this is all based on an open standard. The open standard 802.15.4 and the Ethernet Wi-Fi hotspot standard. And with this, the idea is to, let's say, first do the streetlights and then combine it with, for example, the parking sensors, the metering. Also, because with this you can use the same network and make more and better business cases of the networks. And obviously I hear a lot about, let's say, cost, and we need to save cost and things like that, and I agree with this. We can actually take the chipset from this one here. I said the chipset is not our development, it's an S3 micro chipset with our firmware on it, and you can build it into your driver of your LED panel directly, and that when you will have, let's say, super cost and a very good business case for your lights. So. But I think, let's say, in order not to get up to technical and screw up on the timing, we can connect. I'll be very happy to see you at our stand here in Hall 11 and discuss in more details the question.
Thank you. Yes, and I think the same invitation goes to, again, to everyone who is in the room. These companies, these gentlemen are available to explain you in more detail, to interact with you in more detail at the Swiss Pavilion. It's in hall number 9. You will see it, 11, sorry, you see it with a red branding, quite easily recognizable. The last question, I guess, is one for the embassy more in general. So a very quick answer to what the what this Swiss-Indian friendship 70 years is about. It's basically a year that we will be launching, where we will be commemorating the 70 years of the Indian-Swiss Friendship Treaty. There will be a whole series of events that we'll organize together with the different actors of the Swiss network, partly at the Swiss embassy, and we will also do some outreach related to these events. Again, if you are interested in more details, I would invite you to come to the Swiss Pavilion. Christina Omlin, who is there on the corner, she is in particular in charge of coordinating this year of activities. So I think we're coming to the end of our session. I would like to thank very much all the panelists for having taken the time of giving in a challenging format, trying to quickly introduce and give you a snapshot of what they are offering. I hope it raised your interest. I hope we could show that there are some solutions and some experience from Switzerland that are relevant and that are interesting for the smart city challenge that India is facing. So thank you very much for the attendance, and there are some presents to be handed over also. While we are handing out the mementos, I'd also just like to take a moment to thank everyone who was involved in organizing the Swiss presence here at the pavilion. as well as this panel here. It's been a combined effort of the Swiss network here in India, the Swiss Business Hub, Swissnex, the Swiss Embassy, the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation. So a lot of players have come together so that we could come here with the Swiss pavilion and the Swiss branding. And of course, thanks again for all the panelists and the speakers who have attended the session. Thank you and have a nice day.